Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 9:25 a.m. News and views on Salam Media. Next, we're talking with Roshan Dadoo, a long-standing activist and the current national coordinator of the South African BDS Coalition. Assalamu alaikum to you, Roshan. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for inviting us.
Okay, so now we understand that the ANC has welcomed the encouraging expulsion of a senior Israeli diplomat from the AU summit in Addis Ababa. And of course, Israel's foreign prime minister, deputy director general for Africa, let me say that again, Israel's foreign ministry, deputy director general for Africa, Sharon Bar-Lee, was escorted out of the AU assembly in the Ethiopian capital on Saturday. Israel is now accusing their arch foe, Iran, of orchestrating the move with help from Algeria and South Africa. Firstly, you must be really jumping for joy that this has actually happened. And how do you respond to Israel's accusations against Algeria, South Africa, and Iran?
Well, of course, I think many of your listeners will have seen the video that's going viral. In fact, a couple of videos that people took of BDG for Africa of apartheid Israel being physically removed from the African Union Summit's opening ceremony. And of course, you know, it's wonderful to see an occupying apartheid power who thinks that they can come and dictate to us on our continent being thrown out of the room. But I think the statements that were made by Israel are completely absurd. I mean, it shows the level of their racism that they are blaming a state that's nowhere near Africa for decisions taken, correct decisions taken by countries like South Africa and Algeria to remove them from the AU because they're not yet fully accredited. As we know, last year, the African Union Summit agreed on a committee that was supposed to meet and report on taking on what would happen around the very underhand way in which they tried to get observer status. But that hasn't happened. So I think it was completely correct of South Africa and Algeria and others to demand that they don't have any presence at the AU.
Roshan, you would agree that that request last year should not even have been entertained at that point in time. We wouldn't have been sitting with this matter now talking about it had the people in power at the time at the AU not entertained. They just struck it off the table completely.
Yes, I mean, it was a unilateral decision initially to accept Israel's observer status, which was wrong from the very beginning, because clearly there is no consensus that they should have this status at the AU. So the whole decision from the very beginning was done in a very underhand manner. And I think when we look at the expose last week of how apartheid Israel is at the center of a lot of underhand meddling on our continent, including in elections, we can see how they operate and how it's wrong have got in, tried to sneak in that way. So again, I think the decision now that they should not be allowed to have status until that matter is resolved is completely correct. And it's a decision that's in line with South Africa's policy, with our history of fighting racism and apartheid, not to allow them into the AU. So the claims that we're being dictated to by other countries and foreign powers is absolutely absurd. And we really hope that our government takes this up, because we can't be subject to this kind of diplomatic bullying. And in fact, it would be a good reason to completely downgrade our embassy in Tel Aviv, and a good grounds to demand that they leave South Africa, that we cut diplomatic ties, because it's just bullying and nonsense that they're spewing out about us.
I know you speak for the BDS being the national coordinator. You can't speak for obviously Algeria and Iran. But what do you suppose, how do you suppose they would respond to this situation and the fact that they've been fingered as the culprits of Israel being, ejected or removed from the summit?
Well, I think Algeria, looking from at the Algerian press, like South Africa, has been at the forefront of trying to stop this accreditation of apartheid Israel. So I'm sure they too would be feeling very aggrieved that their decision is being put onto another country that has nothing to do with it, because since the start, South Africa and Algeria have been at the forefront in the AU of opposing Israel's observer status.
Okay, the ANC has come out with a statement, and they are saying they're very encouraged by the AU's ousting of the Israeli representative from the summit presently underway in Addis Ababa. They also go on to say that, and I'd like your views on this issue because it's quite a pertinent issue. They go on to say in this press release that only a two-state solution based on agreed international parameters can bring an end to the hardships suffered by Palestinians at the hands of the Israeli forces. This is a question I've asked for a long time, over years. There are certain people who agree that the two-state solution is an answer, and others who don't believe it will be workable. Your thoughts on the matter?
Well, we've always said that it's up to the Palestinian people to determine the type of state. The important points are that there would be justice, equality, the return of the refugees, the dismantling of the apartheid regime, and an end to apartheid settler colonialism. So what sort of a state that would leave is up to the Palestinian people. But it's clear that without those things happening, it won't be a state of Palestine.
Absolutely, and it seems as if the Palestinian people still have a very long, hard road ahead of them. But with people like the BDS Coalition and other supporters of the Palestinian people's plight, undoubtedly it will come about sooner rather than later. Roshan Dadoo, thank you indeed for your time on the show this morning. Roshan is a long-standing activist and the current national coordinator of the South African BDS Coalition. Go well, and once again, keep up that good fight for the underprivileged all around the world, or the people that find themselves in a situation like the Palestinian people. Keep up that good fight. Thank you indeed.
Until there's true self-determination.
Absolutely, absolutely, Roshan. Go well. 9:33 News and Views on Salam Media.